Hi, this is Teresa from Mama's Book Reviews, and I'm going to work on my second book review video. I have been listening to and reading a lot of books, and I'm not going to do the ones that I listen to at the moment just because I have enough books. So one of the books that I read was with my 9-year-old daughter, Sarah. I read The Lemonade War to her. And it was a very nice story about a brother and a sister who get into a war to see who could raise the most money in their lemonade stands, and it was really cute. Both Sarah and I really enjoyed it. If you have young children, I think it would be a cute summer read for them. I had one DNF, which was this Joanna Lindsey book called Heart of a Warrior, and I didn't like it because I am not that into romance anymore, but this had it was like romance, but it was also sci-fi, and basically he comes from a different planet, the guy, and he's going to get involved with this girl who I guess is a human, and the issue is that he thinks that he can be like a caveman around her, and she doesn't like it, and I'm not really interested in that. I do like Joanna Lindsey books, or I have in the past. They're usually pretty funny, but I decided not to finish reading it. So that is my DNF. The books that I did read are, I read this book called Black City by Elizabeth Richards, and I'm reading the second book currently, which is called Phoenix, and I also have the third book called Wings. And in this book, this is, what is it called? It's a dystopian novel. This book is a dystopian novel, and it takes place in the future where America has been split up into different segments, and it's being run by this guy who I guess is comparable to Hitler. And basically there's all these different types of creatures, which I guess you could call werewolves and vampires for lack of a better term, but they're not actually like that, but they are comparable to that. And this girl is a human, and she ends up, of course, meeting a vampire that she falls in love with. They're not called that, they're called darklings. And he's actually half darkling, half human, so he's kind of not accepted into either world. And they're being hunted. She's being hunted because she's with him, and he's being hunted because he's a half-breed. I don't know. There's a lot of hunting going on. But it was actually a really good book, and this guy, Pyrian Rose, is really evil, and he wants to eliminate everybody that isn't a human, kind of like Hitler with his Aryan race. And I really enjoyed it. I'm not doing an apt job in describing it, but that's okay, because if you like dystopian novels and you like the whole trilogy, girl falls in love, three-way love triangle, you'll like this. And I think it's very well written. I liked the first one, but I'm actually enjoying the second one much more. And I didn't think I'd like it at first, because I always think it's a little bit silly that it's the end of the world, but this girl is wondering, should I be with him or should I be with him? But I mean, by the end, I was really into it. I try to give every book that I read 100 pages before I decide to DNF it. I did not do that with the Joanna Lindsey book, just because I knew that 100 pages wasn't going to save it. But by the time I got to the 100 pages, I actually really enjoyed this and wound up getting the second book from the library, and I had to buy the third. Our library didn't have the second or the third book. So that was that. Then I read this book called This Thing Between Us by Gus Marino, which I didn't like too much. It is about a married couple, and they buy this Alexa-type device, which starts ordering bizarre things and acting very strangely, and eventually the man's wife dies, and a lot of it is about his depression and him trying to function without her. And basically he goes out to the middle of nowhere to live because he can't stand to be in the house where she was at anymore. And all these weird things start happening. And the first half of the book I thought was very good, very eerie. I really liked it. And then the second half of the book just kind of went haywire with all the weird stuff happening. And it was a short book, so I read it quickly, but I didn't love it. I read this book by Jennifer McMahon called The Children on the Hill. I love Jennifer McMahon's books. She's written some of the creepiest books I've ever read, like The Winter People. And in this one, it follows a little girl who lives with her grandma and her brother. And the grandma works in a mental institution and does a lot of work with mentally handicapped people. And so she grows up like this. And eventually the mother brings home this strange child and says, this basically now is your sister. So they all grow up together and they're trying to discover what it is that the Grimm is actually doing and where did this little girl come from. So they start getting into like, you know, what the Grimm is hiding. Where did this child come from? Why does she not remember anything about her past? And then it's told from the future of the sister, and she has to go back to where this all happened to try to find out what happened to her sister. And so, yeah, it was very good. It wasn't my favorite of hers. There were parts of it that I thought were slow, but I think that anybody would read it. It wasn't creepy at all. Like it just didn't scare me, but it was a very good book as usual. Jennifer McMahon always never fails to write a good book, at least in my opinion, humbly. And the last book I read was called Skin and Bones by Renee Watson, and this follows Lena, who is 40, and she's about to get married. She has a little girl from a previous relationship, and she's heavy, and she works in a library trying to bring out the Black heritage and history of Portland, and she finds out that her husband, or fiance, I'm sorry, was cheating on her. And so it kind of like goes into this big spiral of what it's like to be heavy and what it's like to be Black and what it's like to be a single mother and then what it's like to be cheated on. And I felt like that was a lot for one book. The one thing I'll say is the little girl, I absolutely loved her. She was the sweetest little girl in the book. I loved all the parts with her. She seemed like the nicest little girl. That probably was my favorite part, was the parts with the mother and the little girl. And the part, like, you know, with the boyfriend cheating on her and everything. And then there was the whole part, like, with being overweight and being Black and the prejudices that you might deal with because of that. I felt like they were two things that should have just been focused one on, not both on, I guess. I don't know. That was just my feelings about it. I felt like it was too much drama for one book. But it was still a really good book. And I just fell in love with that little girl. Maybe it's because the little girl is the same age as my little girl. But I just fell in love with her. She seemed like she was so sweet. So those were some of the books that I read. And I hope you like this book review. And I hope you like and subscribe. And I wasn't weird this time because I'm pretty tired. And I had to socialize all day. And now I'm really, really tired. And now I'm going to go up and hibernate in my room and finish my book and play Stardew Valley and watch TV. So, sayonara.